I declare this meeting open at 7 p.m. and welcome everyone to this evening's meeting of Ku-ring-gai Council. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. I extend that respect to any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people here this evening. As councillors, we are entrusted with the responsibility of representing the diverse interests of our residents. Let us work together in a collaborative spirit, respect diverse opinions, and seek common ground for the good of Ku-ring-gai. Before we begin, I'd like to outline a few procedures in relation to this evening's meeting of Council. This meeting is being recorded and webcast live on Council's website. Only councillors and council staff will be shown on camera. Attendees must not make a recording or photograph of the meeting without prior approval. Council meetings are open to the public as observers only. In line with the Code of Meeting Practice, members of the public can address Council via the monthly public forum. Council may close part of the meeting to deal with certain confidential matters in accordance with Section 10A of the Local Government Act. These discussions will not be open to the public and will not be webcast. All attendees must comply with the Code of Meeting Practice and other relevant council codes, policy and procedures. Attendees must refrain from engaging in disorderly conduct or making potentially defamatory statements. Councillors, council staff and members of the public must ensure that mobile phones are turned to silent during the meeting. Councillors and council staff must declare and manage any conflicts of interest that they may have about any item of business that is on the agenda this evening. I will start with the apologies and applications for leave of absence by councillors. Are there any apologies for councillors? Councillor Matt Devlin.
Madam Mayor, I've received an apology from Councillor Wheatley. I move that the council accept her apology.
Okay. Do you have a reason for Councillor Wheatley?
She's not in the country.
Okay. I'll just further expand on that because I did speak to Councillor Wheatley myself, and Councillor Wheatley is fortunate enough to be attending the Winter Olympics that her daughter is partaking in. Okay. Are you moving that apology? And yep. Okay. And so moved by Councillor Devlin, seconded by Councillor Smith. All those in favour? That is unanimous. I will now move on to apologies by staff. Are there any apologies for staff?
Madam Mayor, the General Manager is on personal leave.
Okay, thank you. We will move on to disclosures of interest by councillors. Are there any conflict of interest declarations for councillors? And if you could please confirm if significant, non-significant, pecuniary or non-pecuniary, and the nature of the conflict. Okay, it doesn't look like we have any this evening. Disclosure of interest by staff. General Manager, Acting General Manager, are there any conflict of interest declarations for staff?
There are none, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Are there any documents circulated in the councillors' papers to be dealt with at the appropriate time during the meeting, which we referred to as the Greens?
There are, Madam Mayor. There are a number of late items. MM4, recognising the achievements of local Winter Olympians, report by the Mayor dated 9th of February, published on the 10th of February. GB17, exhibition of the State Government's planning documents, draft submissions, report by Director Strategy Environment, dated 23rd of January, published 12th of February. Mayoral Minute number 5, Council Partnership to Support the Jewish Community Mental Health and Wellbeing, report by the Mayor dated and published on the 16th of February 2026. In terms of a memorandum circulated, there's a confidential memorandum for GB14 Heritage Housekeeping Planning Proposal, circulated to the Mayor and Councillors on 6th of February. A confidential memorandum in relation to GB15, post-exhibition consideration of submissions to Part 5 dual occupancy DCP, circulated to Mayor and Councillors on the 6th of February. And the memorandum for GB15, post-exhibition of dual occupancy provisions, circulated to Mayor and Councillors on the 13th of February.
Thank you, Acting General Manager. Are there any reports to be considered in a closed meeting and not released to the press and public?
Madam Mayor, there is confidential item C1 Project Review Action Plan, and there are a number of confidential attachments. Item GB4 Audit Risk and Improvement Committee Appointment of External Auditor. Attachment 1 Overview of Selection Process. Attachment 2 Candidate Applications. GB12 RFT 6-2025 Lift Replacement over at the Gordon Library. Attachment 1 List of Tenders Received. And Attachment 2 Tender Evaluation Report and Recommendation.
Thank you, Acting General Manager. Can I have a motion for these reports to remain in confidential? Councillor Alec Taylor moving that, seconded. Councillor Barbara Ward. If you could just put your lights on, if you don't mind, next time, that'd be great. All those in favour? That looks like that's unanimous. The next part is the confirmation of minutes. Can I please get a motion to confirm the minutes of the previous meeting? Moved by Councillor Taylor, seconded by Councillor Barbara Ward. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Now, before I start the mayoral minutes, I believe today is Chinese New Year and Lunar New Year. So I will give councillors an opportunity if they would like to say a few words to our community. I will first start with you, Councillor Barbara Ward. You had your light on first. So whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to take a moment to extend best wishes to everyone celebrating the Lunar New Year today. As we welcome the year of the fire horse, may its spirit of courage, viability, and forward momentum inspire good health, prosperity, and harmony across our community. The 2026 year of the fire horse is associated with strength, leadership, and resilience, qualities that enrich our community and guide our shared progress. In that spirit, I'd like to draw everyone's attention to the many activities planned by the Council, and I encourage everyone to participate and enjoy the festivities. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ward. Councillor Cedric Spencer.
Thank you. So as an Anglo-Chinese myself, I celebrate both Christmas and Chinese New Year. So when I grew up in Singapore, my grandma, which is from my mom's side, is Chinese. And we have this tradition of celebrating and preparing for Chinese New Year. It was a very big deal at the time. Like, for instance, we have the family reunion dinner, which is on the eve of Chinese New Year. Some of the dishes that's a must would be, I won't tell you all the dishes, but I'll just tell you what's a must. Noodles, and that represents long life. And then fish, that again represents life, it's live fish, and all those other things, vegetables, and everything has some meaning. And then families will come back together. So if you are married, for instance, then you will go to your husband's parents' house first, and then go to the wife's parents' house second. So the reunion dinner would start from about 5 o'clock in the evening, and it runs all the way till about 10 o'clock to accommodate everybody to come back. And it's usually a big thing. And then as we wait for, we welcome the new year, it is customary that we don't turn the lights off. We leave it on. And because of luck, when you sweep the floor during Chinese New Year, you don't sweep the dirt out, you sweep it in. On normal days, you sweep the dirt out. But in Chinese New Year, you sweep it in because you want the luck and wealth to come in. So those are some of the tradition. And today, we still carry on that tradition here at home. My wife being Chinese, and my son, of course, he doesn't really understand what Chinese New Year is all about. Like, for instance, this morning, my wife would say to him, "Hey, Happy New Year, and this is your red packet." And he said, "Oh, when is it?" "Today." So I was having dinner with my colleague here, and he was asking me, "What's the currency today?" Well, I'll tell you, when I was young, the currency was $2, and somewhere in between it was 20. But today, the currency is 100 and 200. So don't give anything less. Anything less than the market going price, you instead of having good luck for the whole year, you have bad luck because you'll be cursed. Just a joke. So anyway, I just want to wish everyone happy Chinese New Year. 恭喜发财. Welcome to the year of the horse, a symbol of strength, endurance, and forward momentum. Wishing you and your family, my fellow councillors, staff, and residents of Ku-ring-gai, wishing all of you good health, happiness, and prosperity in the year ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Spencer. Councillor Indu Balachandran.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I too would like to wish our community and those who celebrate in it a very, very happy Lunar New Year and the Year of the Fire Horse. Ku-ring-gai has a large, growing and valued Chinese and East Asian community, and I encourage our broader community to actually participate in the many events that our council and partners are holding over the council year, over the council area over the next few weeks. We celebrate our diversity by really getting to know each other in the community, and what an amazing opportunity to understand our community stories of Lunar New Year and their cultural backgrounds. Personally, I love the lanterns hanging on St. John's Eat Street. Thank you very much. It's very festive. And actually, these small symbols that show up in our neighbourhoods are actually really quite fundamental. I thank council staff for thinking of these small things because they actually matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Balachandran. I will now move on to the Merrill minutes. So we have 5 of them. So some I will move as read, but others I will read out. So I will start with the first Merrill minute one, which is 2026 Australia Day Honours and Citizen of the Year Awards. I am pleased to inform you that 8 members of the Ku-ring-gai community, through their outstanding achievements and service to the community, have been awarded 2026 Australia Day Honours. We are very proud to have these dedicated and talented Australians as members of the Ku-ring-gai community. I'd like to read you the names of these Australian Day Honour recipients and on behalf of Council, congratulate them on their excellent contribution to Australian society. First, we have Professor John Cannon, AO of Killara, for distinguished service to tertiary education, to mathematical computation, to cryptography, and to the development of algebraic software systems. Mrs. Ruth Lorraine Hevlat, OAM of Pymble, for service to netball. Ms. Penny Cathcart Holden, AOM of Killara, for service to community history. Mrs. Anne Incurry Hollandes, AO of Roseville, for distinguished service to family, children and community safety, wellbeing and human rights, and to policy, research and practice. Dr. Michael Jeffrey Hooper, AM of Gordon, for significant service to endocrinology and to biomedical muscular research. Ms. Elizabeth Maria Montano, AM of Pymble, for significant service to public administration, particularly in law enforcement, regulation and governance. Mr. John Page, OM of Wahroonga, for service to community, social welfare. Dr. Andrew Pilcher Wines, AM of Killara, for significant service to orthopaedic surgery and to the community. I also congratulate Ku-ring-gai Citizen of the Year winners for 2026. Citizen of the Year, Dean Symes. Young Citizen of the Year, Angelina Barndall. Environmental Citizen of the Year, Jill Green. Mayor's Award for an outstanding contribution by a community group, Ku-ring-gai SCS. On behalf of Council, I congratulate all these award winners on their outstanding achievements. Ku-ring-gai should be proud that it has citizens being recognised at the highest level for their selfless, dedication, commitment and contribution to local, national and international communities. The recommendation is A, that Council acknowledge the outstanding contribution made by these recipients of 2026 Australia Day Honours to the Ku-ring-gai community and to the well-being of our society. B, that the Mayor writes to the recipients on behalf of Council to congratulate them on receiving their award, including a copy of this mayoral minute. Do I have any councillors speaking? So I will move mayoral minute 1. So I see a speaker with their light on, Councillor Alec Taylor.
Thank you, Mayor Kay. I would like to congratulate all the recipients of honours this year and also Ku-ring-gai's Citizenship Awards. But I'd like to particularly highlight Jill Green, who has been an advocate for the natural environment for many decades and is a valued member of our Environment Committee. Her dedication, persistence and professional disposition is inspirational.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Any other speakers? If not, I'll put that to the vote because I've moved it. All those in favour? That is unanimous. I will move on to mayoral minute number 2. So that is recognition of lifetime contribution of Miss Penny Lancaster to dance education in Australia. I'd like to recognise the extraordinary decade-long contribution of Ms. Penny Lancaster, founder and director of Australian Dance Vision, ADV, and her service to the Australian dance sector. As she retired at the end of 2025, I believe her achievements deserve public recognition and celebration. Penny's work began at the grassroots level in Sydney, where she conceived and founded a youth company, Ballet d'Action, an early expression of her vision for holistic training combining performance, choreography, and conceptual dance studies. Building on that foundation, she led the development of a progressive classic ballet. Sorry, I just hear some people speaking. Classic ballet syllabus over many years and expanded it to include jazz and tap, an educational model that became widely used across the country. She founded Australian Dance Vision, ADV, in 1989 and subsequently helped to establish the Australian Dance Institute, ADI. Under Penny's leadership, ADV produced the first suite of nationally recognised vocational dance qualifications in Australia. Certificates 1 to 4 in Dance Performance Studies and Certificate 4 in Dance Teaching and Management. She achieved endorsement of the Certificate 3 in Dance Performance Studies for the HSC and therefore helped create education and career pathways for thousands of students and teachers. As a former professional dancer trained in classical ballet, Penny brought deep artistic experience to education. Her performances included dancing with the Young Australian Ballet Company, work with the Australian National Theatre, and international collaborations which enriched her teaching and mentoring. Over the decades, she has taught and guided thousands of students through her Sydney-based academy and beyond. Penny was Vice President of both the Society of Dance Arts and AusDance New South Wales, a member of the Board of Studies, Syllabus Advisory Committee, and various national educational panels, steering and advisory committees. She received the Centenary Medal, the Zonta Woman of Achievement Award, and nominations for awards such as the New South Wales Woman of the Year and the Avon Award in the Arts for her work in teaching thousands of dancers across Australia. I'd like to honour Penny's outstanding service to dance education and her contribution to the cultural life of Australia. I move the recommendation A, that this mayoral minute be received and noted, that a copy of this mayoral minute be sent to Miss Penny Lancaster with a letter from the Mayor congratulating her on the outstanding achievements. Are there any councillors who would like to speak on this mayoral minute? Councillor Indu Balachandran.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I've always felt our community is incredibly rich in the depth and breadth of artistic endeavours, and I'm really pleased to see that Penny Lancaster has been duly acknowledged for her lifetime's work and contribution to the community arts. So congratulations to Penny.
Thank you, Councillor Balachandran. If there aren't any other speakers, I'll just put that to the vote. All those in favour? That looks like that's unanimous. I will now move on to Mayoral Minute number 3, which is the rescheduling of March 2026 Public Forum. Now, I'm just going to move this one as read. Are there any speakers? Looks like no speakers, so I'll just put that to the vote. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Okay, Mayoral Minute 4. We've got a few Mayoral Minutes this month, which is recognising the achievements of local Winter Olympians. Through this Mayoral Minute, I'd like to recognise the achievements of some local Winter Olympians who will be competing in the 2026 Winter Olympics at Milano Cortina in Italy. Kyra Wheatley, the daughter of Councillor Kim Wheatley, will represent Australia in ski cross in Livigno at the 2026 Olympic Winter Games. Kyra got her first taste of the Games environment when she competed at the Winter Youth Olympic Games in 2020. Born and raised on the North Shore, Kyra is a lifetime member of the Perisher Winter Sports Club. She thrived on the camaraderie of Australian winters and wider snow sports communities overseas. As a junior, she was a versatile skiing talent before narrowing her focus to ski cross. That decision quickly translated to under-16 Australian Alpine title and the New Zealand under-16 Youth Series crown in 2018, followed by the Australian under-18 Giant Slalom and Slalom titles in 2019. Her form was strong enough to earn selection for the World Cup Championships in Engadine Street Moritz in 2025, but a shoulder and knee injury ended her season. Despite this setback, Kyra was named Snow Australia's Female Ski Cross Athlete of the Year for 2025, with her World Cup debut and consistent European Cup form singled out by selectors in their decision to include her in the Olympic squad. I can also commend 2 other Ku-ring-gai-based Winter Olympians competing this year. Daniel Scott, also former Pymble Ladies College alumni, along with Kyra, will be competing in the freestyle skiing aerials category. This will be Danielle's 4th Olympic Games. Rosie Fordham, a former Abbottsley student, has been selected for the cross-country skiing team following a record-breaking 2025 season. On behalf of the Ku-ring-gai community and council, we wish these young athletes and the Australian team every success at the Winter Olympics. I'll move that the recommendation that this Mayoral Minute be received and noted, and I will just call on any councillors if they would like to speak on this Mayoral Minute. Councillor Barbara Ward.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. For honouring Ku-ring-gai's own Kyra Wheatley, Danielle Scott and Rosie Fordham for competing in the 2026 Winter Olympics. I especially acknowledge Kyra Wheatley's tremendous achievement for her and for our community. At this time, I think it's also important to recognise the parents and families whose steadfast support has been instrumental in supporting and preparing our athletes. Their commitment is quiet and unseen, yet absolutely essential. I would especially like to acknowledge Councillor Kim Wheatley and Mr. Wheatley for their dedication, patience and encouragement. Their support has been the force behind Kyra's journey to the world stage. Behind every Olympian is a family who believed first. So to the Wheatley family and to all parents and families who have nurtured dreams, fostered resilience and supported their athletes through every challenge, I offer my thanks. I wish the Australian team, Ku-ring-gai athletes and especially Kyra every success. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ward. Are there any other speakers? Councillor Smith. Oh, Deputy Mayor Martin Smith.
Oh, thank you. I also would like to offer a big congratulation to all those people representing Ku-ring-gai in Australia in the Olympics. I think that it is something that all these people have worked tirelessly for. To become an Olympian, I think it's the speaking personally in regards to Kyra, it would be the only Olympian that I know of that's ever attended the Games. I think it's also important to acknowledge that Kyra did make a lot of sacrifices in this time to achieve what she has today. Like, it looks quite simple when we see them all there and they're in the green outfits and their fancy uniforms. But there was a lot more to that. My understanding is just some of the sacrifices that she's made is like obviously a lot of skiing. She had a major concussion at one point, which I believe that it was definitely something difficult to get through. Bolts through her shoulder to keep her going. I think at this time too, it also should be recognised the families that get behind their children on this. Councillor, obviously, her biggest fans would be Councillor Wheatley, Simon, Claudia, who's her daughter, and also Arabella. I believe that this won't be her first Olympics. We'll get to see Kyra again, and I believe that with some of the other people that we've spoken about here today, I believe that we'll get to see them again, and it makes us proud to be an Australian. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Anyone else? Okay. I just wanted to say that I am looking forward to Kyra competing on Friday night, and I hope we're all there to watch her, and best of luck. Okay, so I will put that mayoral minute to the vote. All those in favour? That is unanimous. I'll move on to mayoral minute 5. I will take this one as read. So, council partnership to support Jewish community mental health and well-being. I will move that. Is there anyone else that'd like to speak on that? Okay, being no speakers, I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Okay, so we will now move on to petitions. Have any petitions been received by councillors or staff? There is one petition on the papers, which is PT1. Do I have a councillor that would like to move that particular petition? Councillor Sam Nye moving, seconded by, do you mind putting your light on, Councillor Taylor? Okay. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Now, I'd like to invite councillors to nominate any items on the agenda that they wish to have a site inspection for. Okay, looks like there's none. We'll move on to general business, items to be moved without debate. Now, can I please ask a councillor to nominate any items on the agenda that they wish to adopt as per the officer's recommendation, allowing for minor changes without debate? Councillor Barbara Ward.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to move without debate GB1, GB2, GB3, GB6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16.
Okay, so I believe that would then leave GB4, GB5, GB17. And we have C1, which is confidential. Okay, so if Councillor Ward is moving, do I have a seconder to move those items? Councillor Balachandran, all those in favour? That is unanimous. Okay. All right, so we will now go to GB4. Councillor Sam Nye, are you moving?
Yes, I'd like to move a different motion.
Okay, so an alternate motion for us?
Yeah, if you would like to call it that. Yep.
Okay.
So,
do you mind reading the change maybe? Or?
So point A is the officer's recommendation. Point B is that future recruitment processes for Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee members includes a formal skills matrix, capability gap analysis, and documented evaluation scoring provided to councillors in confidence to strengthen governance, transparency and consistency with council's tender evaluation frameworks.
Okay, do I have a seconder for that? If you don't mind just putting your lights on. Deputy Mayor Martin Smith is seconding.
And I'll just reserve my right to speak.
Okay. Okay, you both reserve your right. Would anyone else like to speak on this item? Okay, so we will move. I will put that to the vote. All those in favour? And that looks like that's unanimous. I will now move on to GB5, which is the 2025-26 budget review, second quarter ended December 2025. Councillor Indu Balachandran, are you moving the item? And if I have, are you moving what is there? Okay. A seconder, Councillor Barbara Ward. Councillor Indu Balachandran, would you like to speak?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I had some questions to the right staff member via you and the General Manager. To thank staff for developing this, which was a request from a motion last year so that we could understand how capital budgets get expended and carried forward. I had some questions. So I'm assuming it's to Director Apostle via the GM.
So the Director
in FY25, so I'm just trying to looking at the table, find it. Right, on page 105 of the papers, there's a table with the years and the capital expenditure budget actuals and carry forward amounts. Yes. In that, can I just, I mean, it looks pretty good. It looks as though in 21-22, we had 61 out of 115 million carried forward, and it dropped down to 24 out of 80. So is that, am I reading that correctly? That this year, in the last year, 23 million out of 24, we basically spent, we carried forward, 23 million out of 24 million total, and the 23 million was kind of outside our control, according to your definitions. Is that correct? So 23 million we carried forward with the asterisks.
Yep.
Out of the total carry forward of about 24.9 million. So that a significant proportion of our carry forward last year was kind of outside our control for various reasons.
Through you, Madam Mayor. So the 23 million is adjusted carry forward, so that eliminates other major projects. And they are just projects that have been either rephased to future years where they may have already commenced, but the budgets had to be carried forward to future years to let those projects complete.
Okay. So the proportion of kind of controllable carry forwards has reduced significantly over the last 4 years from my reading. So we had 25 million out of 81 million this last financial year, and 61, which is 25%, and 61 out of 115 million in FY22, which was 50%. Am I interpreting that correctly?
Through you, Madam Mayor. Yes, correct. So it always depends on what type of projects we actually have in the budget as well. Some projects are more complex; they might have a higher value in this whole budget. So, but in terms of percentage, yes, in 21-22 we had carry forwards of about 22.8%, while in 24-25 it's 28.9%.
And do we always report these kind of carry forwards adjusted for these land acquisitions major projects, or have you just done that for the question that was posed to you last year? Because that's quite useful as a reporting format.
Through you, Madam Mayor. We don't eliminate them as such in the carry forward report, but we do mark them as land acquisitions. However, we can, for the purpose of a summary table in future reports, we can eliminate them and make sure that that's we
well,
display
maybe not
clear
eliminate, but highlight them separately so we understand.
Highlight,
Yep.
yeah, highlight, yeah.
That would be really helpful.
Yep.
So the other question I have is, do we allocate So for a multi-year project like the $4.6 million for the Gordon Streetscape, for instance, we've carried forward the whole amount. Do we typically allocate the full budget for a multi-year project into 1 year and then tend to carry it forward? What is our allocation process?
Through you, Madam Mayor. So that all, it's in consult. We in finance, the finance team consults with operations or the delivery team. Usually we would phase over multiple years so that we can commit budgets depending on milestones of projects. So no, we don't tend to just carry forward the budget and carry forward it again. We're trying to accurately phase it over multiple years.
Thank you. And thank you for the comparable data. That was really useful to understand Ku-ring-gai is kind of on par or close to average with what proportion of capex we have compared to various benchmarks. I was interested in whether we had any data on the carry forward proportion of these councils, and on notice, would you be able to, I don't want you to spend hours on this, but would you be able to provide, the carry forwards for, say, 5 comparable councils for the last financial year?
Through you, Madam Mayor. Yes, we can try and get that data.
Thank you. And I really do appreciate the staff's efforts in doing this. It has helped me understand, I expect, other councillors and given us some comfort and confidence in the steps that you've taken. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Ward, would you like to speak as a seconder?
I wouldn't like to speak, but I do have a question, Madam Mayor.
Yeah,
Thank
go
you.
ahead.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Finance Director. On page 100, loan repayments. The original budget 25-26 does not have a budget. However, there is an expense. Would you be able
Sorry,
to tell us
page
what
100?
Page 100. The last, fourth last item under capital expenditure.
Through you, Madam Mayor. These are loan repayments, annual loan repayments that we've had to pay in December.
So we don't have a budget for it. Do we not budget for it?
We usually, through you, Madam Mayor, we usually do budget for them.
It's just not showing.
Through you, Madam Mayor. So it may have been an oversight, but also there is another table, I guess, that shows the loan repayments as well. But we usually do budget. We have a fixed loan repayment schedule with the bank. So when we budget, we allocate those cash repayments.
Yeah, thank you. Just have another question through you, Madam Mayor. On page 102, leadership and governance, the budget for 25-26 is 99,000. Actually, year to date is almost spent. Would you be able to tell us just what that is? 93,000 has already been spent.
Through you, Madam Mayor, just to clarify, this is for leadership and governance?
Yes.
Projected year-end result 99.9. Yes, yeah, I can explain that. So this is income. So this would be majority of rates income that comes in, and they usually get paid. The majority of the rates income gets paid in August as a first installment. So we would allocate, for the purpose of this table, we allocate it to leadership and governance, and then we redistribute it across different projects in terms of funding.
So that means we've got all of the funding in the first half of the financial year. Right?
Through you, Madam Mayor, for that particular theme, yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you, Councillor Ward. Any other? Okay. If not, I will put GB5 to the vote. All those in favour? That is unanimous. I will now move on to GB17, which is the exhibition of New South Wales Government strategic planning documents, draft submissions. Councillor Matt Devlin, are
Madam
you
Mayor,
moving?
I would like to move an alternate motion.
Okay.
I think governors have that. I'll read it aloud for the benefit of everyone who hasn't had a chance as yet. The amended motion is that Council defer consideration and endorsement of the three submissions included as attachments A1 through A3 to an extraordinary meeting of Council to be convened prior to the 28th February 2026 to enable councillors to properly review the submissions and to provide an opportunity for community awareness before Council will resolve its formal position.
Thank you, Councillor Devlin. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Jeff Pettit. Would you like to speak to that, Councillor Devlin?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Pettit. I move the amendment as read. This is not a comment on the quality of the work undertaken by staff. The submissions are substantial and clearly the product of serious effort. However, I'm concerned about the process and timing. Item GB17 contains three significant draft submissions responding to major New South Wales strategic planning reforms. These reforms go to the heart of housing delivery, infrastructure sequencing, environmental protection, heritage and industrial land policy. They will influence the shape of Sydney and Ku-ring-gai for decades. Whilst a placeholder was contained within the recommendation to item GB13, noting that, and I quote, a further report outlining Council's proposed submission will be presented to Council closer to the February OMC, the report was dropped just before the weekend with updated papers published yesterday afternoon for determination at tonight's meeting. This provides councillors with a very narrow window of time to properly review, discuss and, if necessary, refine Council's formal position on matters of this scale. The state has a submission deadline of 27th February. There is time available to convene an extraordinary meeting of Council before that date. A short deferral would allow proper consideration and provide the community, more importantly, the opportunity to be aware that Council is forming a formal submission. It is worth noting that this item appears in the late papers following additional mayoral minutes. There is a real likelihood that many in the community are simply unaware these submissions are before us tonight. This amendment is not an obstruction. It is about governance integrity. Council's role in endorsing submissions of this magnitude is not ceremonial. It requires informed deliberation. If we endorse these documents, we should do so having had adequate time to review them, as to satisfy ourselves that they reflect the position we intend to take. Before I conclude, I want to reiterate again that I do not question the quality, the intent or the professionalism of the work undertaken by staff in preparing these submissions. They are detailed, thoughtful and clearly the product, again as I say, significant effort. The concern is not the substance or the objectives, it is with the process. And all I'm asking is the community be afforded a genuine opportunity to digest the material, and if they wish to provide feedback to their elected representatives before Council formally resolves its position. And as councillors, we need to uphold rigorous standards of process and deliberation when dealing with strategic documents of this magnitude. Taking a short pause to ensure transparency, proper scrutiny and informed decision-making strengthens our position, it does not diminish it. Accordingly, I believe a brief deferral to an extraordinary meeting ahead of the state's deadline is both reasonable and a responsible course of action for this Council. For those reasons, I commend the amendment to the Council.
Thank you, Councillor Devlin. Councillor Pettit, as the seconder, would you like to speak?
Absolutely. Why are we here, councillors? Well, this time last year, in regards to Norman Griffiths, we asked for a report. And when did that get dropped on to us? Less than 24 hours before the meeting. And none of us were happy with that situation, particularly when we're dealing with very important issues which will affect our community. And Councillor Devlin and I did a quick tic-tac backwards and forwards on this, and we were of the same mind. It is not good governance to get reports at such short notice. The community doesn't get to see it. The community doesn't get to give feedback at a forum when we get a late agenda item on an important issue with only 24 hours to go. So that is why it is essential that councillors be afforded the time to read, digest, understand what is being proposed and being submitted. I mean, if you haven't read it you shouldn't be voting for it. It's as simple as that. And I don't think we've been given that length of time to actually read and digest it. So this is the reason why we have this motion up, so that councillors and the community can actually see what is going to be submitted. And I'm sure we will get emails from the community in regards to it. So councillors, I hope you support this. This is a logical way of dealing with things in a transparent, open and correct way of dealing with an important issue.
Thank you, Councillor Pettit. Councillor Sam No.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I've got a question. I don't know whether it's for Councillor Devon or the Mayor. It's just that we've spoken a lot about community awareness and input and all of that. So is the intent here for us to just have an extraordinary meeting, or will we also hold a public forum prior to the extraordinary meeting so that the public can provide feedback? That's all I've got to say.
I'll take that one. We normally do a public forum before an extraordinary meeting. Standard practice from here on in. I hope that's answered your question. And then I've got Councillor Alec Taylor.
Thank you, Mayor Kay. I just have a question through you, probably to the Acting General Manager. Could you please explain the timing constraints that were forced upon us for this particular initiative?
Through you, Madam Mayor, councillors. We were given a very short period of time. The bundle of documents dropped just before Christmas. So before Christmas, I sent councillors a link to the documents that had dropped. We didn't have a briefing with the Department of Planning on this matter until Tuesday afternoon last week. We'd substantially done our submissions at that time. We had to refine them and get documents ready. Our late report was loaded to councillors' big tin can on Thursday night, and there's been no changes there was no changes to the version that was reloaded yesterday as part of the new document. So it's incorrect to say that there was new documents provided 24 hours ago. They were provided Thursday night last week, but we were limited by the dropping of these documents over Christmas and a briefing only being held for us last Tuesday.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Councillor Cedric Spencer.
Well, I just want to say, because it's Chinese New Year, happy to defer this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Spencer. Councillor Indu Balachandran.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I actually do support Councillor Devlin's argument to give us and the community sufficient time. And I also appreciate the staff's restrictions and corrections on producing this document in time. So much as no one likes to come to extra meetings, I do feel like the solution proposed by Councillor Devlin is the best possible in a bit of a pickle that we're in. So thank you, Councillor Devlin, for taking the time, and thank you, Director Watson, Acting General Manager Watson, for clarifying.
Thank you, Councillor Balachandran. Councillor Barbara Ward.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I also commend Councillor Devlin for this amendment. I think it's a good way forward for us to be able to engage with the community. I have a quick question to the Acting General Manager. Will there be any further new information if we were to defer, or we will go with the same information?
Through you, Madam Mayor, at this point in time, we don't envisage providing any new information. We don't disagree that councillors haven't been given very much time to address these matters. So under the circumstances, I think what's proposed is probably quite reasonable.
Thank you. Councillor Devlin, do you have any further comments? Okay, if that's the case, I will put that to the vote. All those in favour of GB 17, that is unanimous. Okay, so that finishes our general business items. We have no notice of motions this month, but we do have a confidential matter, which is C1, which is the Project Review Action Plan. So in accordance with Section 10A of the Local Government Act and the resolution of Council earlier this evening, the item C1 is confidential and discussion will be closed to the public. So if I can maybe just get a motion to move into a confidential session. Councillor Jeff Pettit was the first with his light on, and seconded by Councillor Ward.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to actually move that C1 is moved as printed, so we don't go into confidential.
Okay. Are there any councillors that would like to speak on C1? Because it is a confidential item. So if you do just... Sorry?
Okay, would the mover need a seconder for that?
Councillor Spencer? Councillor Balachandran?
I do need to, I have some
Questions?
comments about that. Oh, should we?
Oh, okay. Okay. Councillor Pettit, would you like to speak further on why you would like to move it, not move it into confidential, or move it as printed?
The main reason is if somebody has a question that is not necessarily of a confidential nature, we don't actually have to go into confidential. Just a
Okay.
thought.
Yep,
Simple as
that's okay. Councillor Spencer, did you have anything to say on that matter?
Yes, I think I'm happy. Well, I did second this motion. I'm happy to have it moved as printed. And just to tag on to the questions, for instance, if it's confidential and there is no reason for the rest of us to know about it, you can follow up that question through by email or something.
Right.
If there's no debate or anything, if it's not going to change, this is just my suggestion because I have nothing to say about the report because it's just a report, and there's nothing that we can say or do that would change anything in the report because it's a report. So at most, we have questions and all those things. We can ask the director privately.
Okay, well, I will just ask.
Or we can copy to all councillors
Okay.
if that's necessary.
Thank
So
you.
we don't have to go into a confidential meeting
Okay.
because there's nothing to debate.
That's okay. Thank you for your perspective. I will just, Councillor Sam Nye, you've got your light on.
Oh, yes, thank you. If we're doing it this way, I'd like to move an amendment or possibly have it incorporated into the motion. So it is the officer's recommendation, but I'd like to add an extra sentence which
Right.
says...
Just making councillors aware if there's any confidential matters or content, we will then move into confidential. So, Councillor Nye, do you have any confidential
nothing
content
confidential,
on your... Okay,
nothing more controversial than
Okay.
what's already there.
that's okay.
So the second sentence is updates to action plan implementation status will also be reported to council on a quarterly basis. So do you want to incorporate?
Okay. Councillor Indu Balachandran.
I have a kind of a, I suppose, meeting process question.
Yep.
My understanding is that, and I'm genuinely curious as to what the answer is. My understanding is with the new code of meeting practice, all questions relating to an item on the agenda have to be made public. I have some questions, but I think the councillors are right. I can send them to the staff. They're technical kind of questions that I have regarding the project. Do they need to be published then? How does it work? Because they relate to a confidential item.
I will refer that to governance to answer.
If this matter is dealt with confidentially, then the confidentiality provisions will prevail, so there'll be no requirement for any of that to be made public. Under the new, just to clarify, under the new code of meeting practice, matters that are confidential, after those matters are let me start that again. Once the reason for it being held confidential no longer applies, those papers, the business papers, are published and released to the public, but the nature of the conversation that happens within a confidential session remains confidential.
So the question I have is if we don't move into a confidential session, and I have a couple of questions that I might send off to the staff, who decides if they're confidential and whether they ought to be published? I mean, I don't mind either way as long as they are within the bounds of the meeting practice.
The questions that are asked during a confidential discussion would not be made public.
We're not going in, if we don't go into a confidential discussion now and I send these questions post-meeting, what is the scenario there?
They would remain confidential, I would imagine,
Okay,
because
as
of the
long as
nature of
as
it.
long as someone knows the answer to
Yeah,
that
yeah,
and can navigate
yeah.
that,
It's
that's all. That's all I wanted to know. Thank you. I'm comfortable to not go into confidential and save
yeah.
questions. Thank
If
you.
you want to do that, are all other councillors comfortable to move this as printed? C1 with the amendment, yep, which is what is on the screen. Okay, all those in favour? That is unanimous. Okay. Now I will move on to business without notice. Is there any business without notice subject to clause 9.3 of the Code of Meeting Practice? Councillor Indu Balachandran.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have a confidential motion to move. I want to move that we move into a closed meeting for consideration of a matter concerning legal advice.
Okay. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Alec Taylor. If there's no other speakers, I will then put that to the vote. So we would move into confidential session to discuss further a concern that Councillor Balachandran has. All those in favour? That looks like that is Councillor Smith, okay, unanimous. Okay. Okay, so now that we have a motion to move into confidential session, if members of the public and the press will be asked to leave the chamber, and I'll ask for council staff to suspend the webcast and close the doors. So whilst in confidential session, Council resolved, and the motion is that the actions set out in the note initialed by the Mayor during the meeting be implemented and reported to Council. That was moved by Councillor Balachandran, seconded by Councillor Taylor. The vote was for Councillor Smith, Councillor Devlin, Councillor Taylor, Councillor Ward, Councillor Balachandran, Councillor Nye, Councillor Pettit, Councillor Kay. Against was Councillor Spencer, which means the motion was carried. Now for the conclusion of the meeting. Now, there being no further business, I'd like to thank councillors and staff. I'd also like to thank members of the public for their attendance. The webcast of this meeting will be available on the council website and minutes will be published within the next 2 working days. I declare the meeting closed at 8:44.